I shouldn't be alive. Let me tell you why. Between 1961 and 1979, I grew up in Northern California, 90 miles south of San Francisco, in a small agricultural town called Castroville. And during those years, that stretch of California became hunting ground for some of the most notorious serial killers in American history. I was 10 years old when the Zodiac Killer threatened to blow up my school bus. I was 11 when two serial killers were actively hunting in the same small town, 20 miles from my house. I was 18 when I hitchhiked up and down California highways, while a serial killer in a van was picking up young blonde boys exactly like me. And I was 21 when a virus started killing my entire generation, and the government told the CDC to look pretty and do as little as you can. 6 threats, 1 childhood, 1 young adulthood. I was in the path of all of them. This is what it was like to grow up when death was always hunting. Number 1. The Zodiac Killer. 1969, age 10. I had just turned 10 years old when the Zodiac Killer sent a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle. In that letter, he threatened to shoot children as they got off school buses. He said he might blow up a bus full of kids. He included a diagram showing exactly how he'd do it. A bomb rigged to the undercarriage, triggered when the driver hit the brakes. The threat was credible enough that law enforcement took it seriously. For 2 weeks, a sheriff followed our school bus home every single day. Before that letter, our bus rides were loud. Kids laughing, singing songs, being kids. But after the Zodiac's threat, dead silence. We were terrified. We didn't know what the Zodiac looked like. We didn't know if he was watching. We just knew that someone wanted to kill us. When the bus finally stopped and we were allowed to get off, some smart-ass kid would yell, "Oh my God, it's the Zodiac." And we'd scatter, running for our lives, sprinting to our front doors like something was chasing us. Because in our minds, something was. The Zodiac was never caught. To this day, his identity remains one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in American crime history. He claimed to have killed 37 people, only 7 confirmed victims. But the terror he caused? That was real for millions of people living in the Bay Area, including a 10-year-old kid on a school bus who stopped laughing. That was my introduction to serial killers. It got worse. Number 2, Herbert Mullin, 1972 to 1973, age 11. 2 years later, a man named Herbert Mullin started killing people in Santa Cruz, California. Santa Cruz was about 20 miles from where I lived. It was a small beach town, population 38,000. Mullin was schizophrenic. He believed that killing people would prevent earthquakes. He thought California was overdue for a massive quake, and that human sacrifice was the only way to stop it. So he started killing random people. A priest, a drifter, a mother and her 2 children, college students, an elderly man working in his yard. 13 people in 4 months. He'd shoot them, stab them, beat them to death. It didn't matter how. He just needed the blood to appease the earth. When police finally arrested him in February 1973, he told them, "I just saved California from an earthquake. There hadn't been a major earthquake, but there had been 13 murders. And I was 11 years old, living 20 miles away, knowing that someone nearby was killing people because voices in his head told him it would save the world." Here's the thing that still gets me. Mullin wasn't the only one. Number 3, Edmund Kemper, 1972 to 1973, age 11. At the exact same time Herbert Mullin was killing in Santa Cruz, another man was also killing in Santa Cruz. Edmund Kemper, the co-ed killer. Kemper was 6'9", weighed nearly 300 pounds, and had an IQ of 145. He'd already killed his grandparents when he was 15. He spent 5 years in a psychiatric hospital, was released, and then started killing again. Between May 1972 and April 1973, Kemper murdered 8 people, 6 college students, his own mother, and his mother's best friend. He'd pick up young women hitchhiking near UC Santa Cruz. He'd seem friendly, harmless. Then he'd drive them to a remote area, shoot or stab them, and bring their bodies back to his apartment. What he did to those bodies, I'm not going to describe in detail, but it was brutal, dismemberment, necrophilia, decapitation. And when he finally couldn't take the guilt and rage anymore, he killed his mother. He beat her to death with a hammer while she slept. Then he decapitated her. And according to reports, he used her severed head for an unspeakable act. I know that detail because I was a weird kid. I listened to talk radio before I fell asleep. And one night, a caller on the radio started talking about the Kemper case. They described what he did to his mother in graphic detail. I was maybe 10, 11 years old. That image never left me. Santa Cruz, murder capital of the world. Let me paint the picture for you. Santa Cruz, California, 1972 to 1973. Population, 38,000 people. 2 active serial killers, hunting at the same time, in the same small town. Mullin killed 13 people in 4 months. Kemper killed 8 people over the course of a year. And 50 miles north, the Zodiac was still out there, still sending letters, still threatening. Santa Cruz became known as the murder capital of California. If you've ever seen the movie The Lost Boys, the 1987 vampire film about a California beach town overrun by killers, that's Santa Cruz. The fictional town in the movie is called Santa Carla, but it's based on Santa Cruz. They even filmed it there. Sleep all day, party all night, never grow old, never die. It's fun to be a vampire. Except in real life, the vampires were serial killers, and they weren't fictional. I was 11 years old. I lived 20 miles away, and I was old enough to understand what was happening but too young to process it. All I knew was that people were dying, a lot of people, and no one felt safe. Number 4. William Bonin, the Freeway Killer, 1979 to 1980, age 18. Fast forward to 1979. I'm 18 years old. I'm a young blonde gay boy, and I hitchhike. A lot. Up and down the California coast, to San Francisco, to Santa Cruz, to Monterey. Anywhere I wanted to go, I'd stick my thumb out and catch a ride. And while I'm doing this, a man named William Bonin is driving up and down the California freeways in a van, picking up young boys who look exactly like me. Bonin was called the Freeway Killer. He targeted teenage boys and young men, most of them blonde, most of them hitchhikers, many of them gay or assumed to be gay. He'd pick them up, offer them a ride. Then he'd drive them to a remote area, rape them, torture them, and strangle them to death. Then he'd dump their bodies along the side of the freeway. 21 confirmed victims, possibly more. I remember hearing about the Freeway Killer on the news. I remember the police saying to watch out for vans, certain makes, certain colors, and I'd avoid those vans. I thought I was being smart. I thought I was being careful. Looking back now, I have no idea how I'm still alive. I was the exact profile. Young, blonde, gay, hitchhiking. I should have been one of those bodies on the side of the freeway. I wasn't. Sometimes I look back and I think, how? How did I make it? Luck? Timing? The universe flipping a coin? I don't know. All I know is that William Bonin was caught in 1980. He was executed in 1996. And I'm still here. 5. HIV/AIDS, the serial killer. No one calls a serial killer. 1982. Present, age 21 plus. I'm 21 years old. And that's when I first started hearing about a new disease. It didn't have a name yet. People were just calling it the gay cancer or the gay plague. Men, gay men specifically, were getting sick. Rapidly. Their immune systems were collapsing. They were dying from infections that healthy people could fight off easily. By 1982, it had a name: AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, and it was killing us. But here's the thing. This one didn't have a face. It didn't have a name. It didn't send letters to newspapers or leave bodies on the side of the highway. It just kept killing, and the government did nothing. AIDS was first identified in 1981, the same year Ronald Reagan became president. By the time Reagan first publicly mentioned AIDS in September 1985, over 5,000 people were already dead. September 1985. That's when I tested positive. I was 24 years old. They drew my blood, ran the test, and told me I had HIV. In 1985, that was a death sentence. There was no treatment. AZT wouldn't come until 1987, and even then it barely worked, and the side effects were brutal. Most people who tested positive died within 2 to 5 years. I was told to get my affairs in order. That was 40 years ago, and the government did nothing. Reagan's proposed 1986 budget, the year after I tested positive, called for cutting AIDS funding by 11%, from $95 million down to $85 million. While thousands of people were dying every month, the CDC tried to help. In early 1985, Dr. Don Francis, an epidemiologist at the CDC, developed the nation's first AIDS prevention plan. It would include testing, counseling, and education. It would cost about $30 to $40 million per year. Washington rejected it. Dr. John Bennett, the CDC's central coordinator for AIDS, pulled Dr. Francis aside and told him what the higher-ups in Washington had said about the plan. Look pretty, and do as little as you can. That was the policy. Look pretty, do as little as you can. While I watched everyone I loved die, David H. was the first. We were together when he got sick. I watched his body waste away. I held his hand while he struggled to breathe. He died in 1987. Then Derek, another man I loved, gone by 1990. Then David C., my best friend, the person who knew me better than anyone. He died in 1992, and then everyone else. Michael, Richard, Stephen, Tom, everyone I had met between 1979 and 1998. All of them, gone. I worked at an AIDS service organization during those years. I thought maybe I could help. Maybe I could do something. But all I did was watch more people die, clients I'd gotten to know, people who trusted me, people who needed help that didn't exist yet. I started to feel like the angel of death. Everyone I touched died. Everyone I loved died. Everyone I tried to help died. Except me. By the time Reagan left office in 1989, 89,343 Americans were dead from AIDS. The death rate was still climbing. Over 300,000 would die before the epidemic was brought under control. But I didn't die. I don't know why. Doctors told me later that I'm what's called an elite controller. It means my body naturally suppresses HIV without medication. It happens in about 1 in 300 people with HIV. 1 in 300. I am the one. And I watched the other 299 die. There's no reason I survived. No reason David H. didn't. No reason Derek didn't. No reason David C. didn't. It's been 40 years since I tested positive. 40 years of asking, why me? 40 years of survivor's guilt. 40 years of PTSD from watching an entire generation disappear. There are unsubstantiated reports that Reagan called AIDS God's punishment for homosexuality. Whether he said those exact words or not doesn't matter anymore. The result was the same. The government watched us die, and they did nothing. It wasn't unleashed by them, but it was allowed to kill. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's documented history. Viruses aren't sentient, but the people who decide whether to fight them, they are. And they chose to let us die. I'm still here, and I don't know why. But David H., Derek, and David C. aren't. And that's something I live with every single day. 6 threats. The Zodiac Killer, who terrorized my school bus and made me afraid to get off at my own stop. Herbert Mullin, who killed 13 people 20 miles from my house because he thought it would stop an earthquake. Edmund Kemper, who killed 8 people in the same town, and whose crimes I heard described on the radio when I was 10 years old. William Bonin, who drove a van up and down California highways picking up boys who looked exactly like me while I was hitchhiking. Santa Cruz, the murder capital of the world, where two serial killers hunted simultaneously in a town of 38,000 people. And HIV/AIDS, which killed my lovers, my best friend, and every other friend I had, which I've been living with for 40 years, which made me 1 in 300, an elite controller whose body suppressed the virus while everyone else died. I shouldn't be here. I was a child for most of them, a teenager for one, a young man for the last. I lived in a town 20 miles from the murder capital of the world. I hitchhiked when killers were hunting hitchhikers. I listened to radio shows that described things no child should ever hear. I tested positive in 1985 when that was a death sentence. And I watched everyone I loved die while my body inexplicably kept fighting. 6 threats. And somehow, I survived all of them. People ask me why I'm fascinated by death, why I make videos about serial killers and dark history and the worst things humanity has ever done. It's because death has been fascinated by me my entire life. Death followed me on a school bus when I was 10. Death hunted 20 miles from my house when I was 11. Death drove past me on highways when I was 18. And death lived inside my body for 40 years while everyone around me died. I grew up in serial killer country. I survived a genocide. I'm 1 in 300. And I'm still here to tell you about it. For David H., Derek, and David C., and for the 299 who didn't make it.